Diving across to an NFC West matchup now, we've got Seattle at the Rams. It feels like the Rams have been somewhat of an afterthought. We had the, obviously, Stafford injury. We've now had the bye week. Do we finally start to see Cooper Kupp get back to paying off that top 3, top 4 price that people paid in those early best ball weeks?
I would really hope so. Speaking as a man with like 25% Cooper Cup exposure. And yeah, like you say, the first 2 weeks that Cup was back out there, he was seeing ridiculous volume. He had a target share of 35%, followed by 42%. And then the 3 weeks following, he had target shares all above 25%. So 24 different targets, but only caught 8 balls across those 3 games. 3 games in a row with 6 PPR points, by far the worst streak of his career. And obviously, we can chalk week 9 down to the fact that Brett Ripien, who is no longer on the roster, was playing. And it was just an ugly game. I think that it really didn't work at all for the Rams that week. But Stafford, he's been off the injury report. I don't think, the injury report always tells the whole truth. But I think if Stafford's out there, he will take enough of those layup volume throws that Cooper Kupp can get there on volume alone. I think where the Seahawks have been particularly vulnerable has been against slot receivers. They've allowed the 5th most fantasy points to slot receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a combinations of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua cycling between the slot. And I'd be fine starting Puka Nacua as well. In terms of the Seahawks players, I'm struggling a little bit to work out how I really want to play this. The Rams have allowed the 11th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. They've been pretty good against running backs. Where you can probably get them a little bit more is on the outside than across the middle of the field. But even then, DK Metcalf's been so disappointing this year, and it felt like last week was the perfect situation for him, and he still wasn't able to really go off. That I'm not sure I'll be pairing him with him. Instead, I think I'd just look at someone like Jackson Smith and Jigba at 4,300 and go, okay, well, how much volume can I get there? If he gets a touchdown, that's going to pay off, and I can stack Stafford with Kupp, Nacua, and JSN and hope that this game kind of really goes a bit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it feels like every week, but DK Metcalf still underperforming in the touchdown category, scored 2 based on his usage. You'd expect him to have scored about 5 so far this season. It feels like there's some regression coming, but there's only so many weeks you can continue to say that and not just buy into what he is. So yeah, I think I'd rather attack this matchup from the Rams side than the Seattle side. I just think that where there's 5 potential options in the Seattle offense, you kind of feel like they could cannibalize each other and sort of eat there, whereas you feel like the Rams is going to be a little bit more narrow in terms of that fantasy production.